How's everyone doing there? It's me, and welcome to Chapter 4 of Buried. Sorry, got a little mixed up there. Sorry. Hey, it's me. We're going to get straight into this chapter video thing, so let's go to the end of Chapter 3 here. Let's see here. The blunt truth. 41% of players told Dennis his prognosis was grim. Slow them down. 36% of players sided with Amy on pulling the hydraulic door. Hey, who to trust? 69% of players gave Amy the gun. Hey. 42% of players killed Marcus. An hour later. 68% of players conserved your bullets for later instead of shooting the creatures. Begin Chapter 4. Yeah, I'm leaving Facecam on for this video just so you can see my face and everything else. So yeah, I feel like it's more fluent, and I usually have Facecam in almost every single one of my videos, except for the live streams on my PS4. Let's just go and get straight into this. The ride up the elevator is tense. I take a series of deep breaths, doing everything I can to stay in control. Amy has gotten back to her feet, but her head is pressed against the elevator wall as she suppresses a series of sobs. I find myself trying to remember the way those creatures looked, but my mind seems to shudder at the effort. I have seen something that is an impossibility, a mockery of what I know is real. This fills me with a terror that dwarfs anything else I have felt since discovering the facility. I try to focus my mind on something else, and that's when I remember that I've just murdered Marcus. I killed Marcus, I say, the thought feeling like jumping into cold water. Had you ever killed anyone before? Amy asks. No. He was going to kill me, she says. I'm sure of it. Probably. Well, thank you, she says, but her tone is unsteady and her face is unreadable. Of course, I'm going to compliment it and just keep it going. I guess you deserved it, she says. Her comment hangs in the air for a moment as she waits for the elevator to stop, so I say, how did you end up here? She gives a nervous chuckle and shrugs. I used to work with the Pentagon. It was some pretty upper echelon stuff that I still discuss. I assume this place is even more upper echelon, I said. This place isn't even on the scale, she answers. My other job was a cakewalk compared to this. Then why stay, I ask. The money is ridiculous. I have a 13-year-old daughter already talking about Harvard. You do the math. 13 or 3? 13-year-old, okay. Harvard, huh? That's ambitious. Oh, I know. She's a force of nature. Her dad ran off when she was 3, so for a long time it's just been her and me. Amy pauses before continuing softly. What if I never see? Her voice breaks off, and words too terrible to say. Her eyes fill with tears. The elevator comes to a stop, the slight ding of it interrupting the moment. Amy hastily wipes her eyes, and we continue. We waste no time in getting back inside the command center. Yay, command century! Yeah, dude. Continue. Let's see here. I ready the rifle, suddenly certain that there are more of those creatures waiting for us in the hallway of the second level. But the way is clear, allowing us to haul A to the command center. Once again, I find myself staring at the screen that shows my ruined work site. Okay, Amy says, typing commands rapidly. It can't be that hard. I keep peeking over my shoulder, and my senses failing as if the monsters are sneaking up on us, mere inches away. I then think of Dennis, and wonder how his face faring back on level 3. Is he safe? I look back to the screens, and see that Amy has finally found what she's looking for. A prompt on the screen says, override of hangar doors and all level 3 locks requires clearance code. Amy types in a number with shaking fingers, and the screen goes black for a moment. Oh, the moment the words override confirmed come up on the screen, Amy jumps up from the chair and heads out of the room. We have to be quick, she says. We have exactly 20 minutes to open those hangar doors. What happens to 20 minutes? The loss will kick in again, she says, security measure. I couldn't do anything about it. I follow her out of the command center and the bound back towards the hallway towards the same elevator that brought us here. Amy punches the elevator button and the doors slide open. We're taking the same elevator back to the biochem room, I ask. Those creatures are still down there. It's the only way back down, she says. The other way is blocked by those hydraulic doors we pulled down. Hopefully the creatures left. Hopefully. Neither of us say anything else as we share a look of immense dread. We step back into the elevator and head back to the biochem room on level 3. Yeah, biochem room, dude. As the elevator door opens, we peer out, looking to see if the creatures are still in the area. But it's all clear. When Amy looks to me, her eyes are clear and strong. Marcus wasn't entirely wrong, Amy says as we start walking back towards the hangar doors. About what, I ask. About how I am partially to blame for this. You're right, you are. Why would you be to blame? No, I'm not going to blame it on her. It wasn't her fault. Some of those things we do here, it's scary. We should have known that one day something like this would happen. I rarely hear of the knowledge of what goes on in level 3 is to blame, she says. It's a highly advanced research facility, I say, doing amazing but risky stuff. So yeah, you're partially to blame, but by just working here. But I can understand the dedication. So why don't you tell me a bit more about what does go on in level 3? I ask. Are you familiar with the Large Hadron Collider over in Switzerland? I've heard the phrase, but that's about it, I say. It's a powerful partial accelerator, she explains. Right now, they're using it to try and create what's called dark matter. It's theorized that this dark matter actually makes up the majority of the universe, but parts of the universe may differ very different from ours. My guess is it's people at the LHC will probably create their first dark matter particle in about 2018 or 2019. Hey, I'm in 2018, dude. Here in the facility, we are about to create one almost 10 years ago. It was the key to our research. Okay. Does this have anything to do with those things? Yeah, sus God. Seems more reasonable. Well, we still don't know all this about this dark matter or other matter we have yet to identify. These creatures could be made of it, or maybe they are some even more exotic matter. We just don't know. If dark matter is responsible, there are no real answers to have. I scratch my head. So you're saying this dark matter helps with the what? Opening up other dimensions or something? That's the theory, she says. During the point-to-point transfer, the subjects are gone for about 3 to 6 seconds. There's no way to see or measure their presence, but they exist somewhere. From what we can tell, they exist in a kind of void. Have you done this with people? We have sent human subjects through. Almost all of them have returned successfully. I make an involuntary grimace. Almost? There was one man, Dr. Kana, who didn't return. We don't know where. She trails off. Hey, go moment to collect yourself. Sorry, I asked. Feeling my mind start to bend inward again. As we continue to walk between the silos, we walk past the area where we left Marcus's body. I barely even glance at his body, still unable to believe that I am responsible for killing him. I also don't want to look at the additional damage the monsters caused. I pull up blood and mangled clothes are all I can see through the corner of my eye. I realize that we were walking very close together between the silos, perhaps trying to create the illusion of safety. We reach the exit connecting to the hangar door where Dennis hopefully still is. My guts clenched and my heart hammers in my chest as we open the door and walk through. I left the rifle, but at first it seems that there was nothing waiting for us, and that's when I see the glowing, hulking shape to my left closing in fast. Okay, I feel like my cold is overtaking me again. Okay, that was gross, but okay. It's the hangar door again. Yay! The creature is almost 10 feet away and coming in quickly, so I do the first thing that comes to mind. I drop to the ground, making myself a smaller target, and raise the rifle. I'm not sure if I should just upload on the B or try to be choosy with my shots and weaken it, or at least slow it down. If I shoot to kill, I'm gonna waste bullets. I'm gonna shoot to weaken. If I shot, it causes the entire milky white frame to jerk to the floor. It thunders its ghost-like tentacle, writhing with rage as it cries out at me. As it seems to turn and jerk away, parts of it appearing and disappearing every few feet. It moves down the hall and out of sight. I look quickly around the others. But there isn't only Amy. She looks at Where the monster went, and with wide eyes, her face is pale, and I wonder if, like me, she is able to feel her mind trying to retreat. Come on, I say, let's find Dennis, and I get through the hangar doors. Amy glances at her watch and nods. We're already down to the 6 minutes. We turn towards the hangar doors, and I'm a little disgusted with myself because the bloody scene that so shocked me before now seems mild. Amy goes to work on the computer console at the side of the door. She starts punching in keys before saying, "This is going to take some time." "I thought you already unlocked it," I ask. "I did. But for this store, there's still security permissions. I need to hack." Marcus would have known how to do this. She trails off, and I decide to let her work. Suddenly, something slams into me. I feel my feet have literally leave the floor, and I am literally thrown across the concrete. I look up to see one of those creatures. It's apparently in no hurry to attack me again, focusing on Amy instead. She's not armed. I need to come up with a plan to get this thing all away from her so she can focus on getting the door open. It raises one of its flickering appendages, making me certain that part of its makeup is pure light and energy. I can easily take a shot with my rifle, but my mind again goes to how much remaining ammo I have. The other thing I can do is to get it and chase Melee away from me. Distract the monster and run. "Hey," I yell, "right here. Come and get me. I'm on the one that shot your buddy." It hurts me. I am again faced with staring at something that has no business in this world. In reality, it's reality. Its body gives off a sort of glow around the central part, a bulbous core that is branched off into two huge, very much like a spider. Again, I sense that this visual of information is not accurate, but it's the best of my simple mind can do to make sense of this impossible creature. It starts lunging towards me and lets out a shriek of agony and makes my ears feel like they'll explode. Now that I'm sure it's coming after me, I take off running to head into the hallway we haven't been down. I found myself in an industrial-looking area, and my pleasure to find that the monster has followed me through. 1 second. You're so kind with there, yeah. Don't worry, I'm just gonna blow my nose here. A nice one. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. That does look really weird, to be honest with you. The room seems to be an old assortment of old pipes and tanks. I assume that some of them will run further down to the areas of the facility. With the creature on my tail, I dash into the maze of metal and hoping to lose it. It's definitely having a harder time squeezing through than I am, and that slows it down. Of course, the room's not a cage of any kind. The thing is still heading towards me, shredding through the pipes as it rages. I notice that sometimes it's breaking the steel garters, but other times it seems like it's somehow merging or changing them. Pipes that were separate are now connected together in a way that makes my head hurt. I finally get a good amount of distance between myself and the creature. I think it's lost my trail. I need to get back to those hangar doors. There's not much time before they close shut. But if I make a sound, that creature could be on my heels again. Hide. I take care to stay quietly, twisting myself through some more pipes and making my way back towards the door I entered through. The creature doesn't seem to pick up on this. I see it's glowing back as I come around it, and it lets a sporadic scream that makes my head feel like jelly. But I don't even look back. I slide quietly through the rusted obstacle course and tiptoe back to the hangar doors. Continue. Heck yeah, dude. I burst back into the large room, and we see Amy still working on the computer terminal by the hangar doors. "Are you okay?" I ask Amy. I can clearly see her battling for control of her faculties. Still, determination wins out, and she gives a grim nod. "Any sign of where Dennis went?" I ask, hoping she hasn't noticed his body somewhere. "No," she replies. Then I realize I have no idea how many rounds I have remaining in my rifle. This isn't a model I'm familiar with. Outside of some deer hunting, I'm not much of an expert on firearms. Still, I am able to locate the chamber easily and see that there are 4 rounds left. Not great, but it could be worse. How are we on time?" I ask her. 2 minutes. I'm going as fast as I can. Amy does her best to focus on the keyboard, but there is still no sign of Dennis. Before I have time to look around, a screeching sound erupts from the other end of the room. I bring the rifle up in the shooter's stance and turn around. With the hangar doors right behind me, no signs of Dennis, and a closing window of time, I have to be confident. Yet, when two monsters come around the corner, my body wants to shut down. The appendages seem to be jumping in time and space, reaching out for a split second independent of the body, and then disappearing back to where they came from. It turns that the screeches at me, its glowing tentacles snaking out of its body. My knees tremble uncontrollably. Behind me, Amy shrinks. I feel myself losing control, my mind sliding into the abyss of insanity. I pull myself back from the brink, and I've got to stay in control. Turn away. We're not shooting them, we're saving your ammo. I could stand here and use my last 4 shots, but what good would that be do? So instead I turn to face the hangar doors. How much longer before you can open those things? Not long, she says, fiercely typing into the terminal as command flood the screen. I doubt it. I think to myself, can I do something to help, I ask. She doesn't answer. Deep in concentration, I turn back around and see a looming shape appear. The creature comes around the corner, screaming out the static-like sound. I step away from Amy and the hangar doors and towards the monster, ready to defend her. I ready my rifle, but the creature wastes no time. It makes the jerky motion towards me, and there's a sharp pain in my chest as it collides with me. Or through me, it's hard to tell. My instinct is to try and grapple or hold this thing down, but then I realize I don't even know if that will work. No, we're not going to try and grab a creature. Like that, you don't know what it's made of, you could kill yourself. We're going to try and get away. I figure I'd rather not try to learn more about the physical nature of this thing right now. Look at that, smart. I tuck and roll from it, and then stand up to face it. With a scream of defiance, I raise the rifle and put it around in its core. The shot lands dead and light. Inside of it flickers almost violently. It falls back against the wall, issuing a hiss of its telltale scream. It seems and jerks away, retreats, at least for now. Another terror appears as one of the monsters out of nowhere screaming at me with its huge, high-pitched whine, yet bounds forward, charging in its strange, spastic way. I am the rifle, intending to take this one in the core too. I take several shots, but it's still coming at me. It slams into me. I realize that I only have 1 bullet left. On contact, the wind is knocked out of my lungs, and the back of my head strikes the floor. But neither of these things is alarming into the fact that the beast is on top of me. Its exterior is like the seashell that has been pounded by the surf for so long that it has not lost all the edges and ridges. But the grip it tries to capture me with is pure violence. I feel those light-soaking appendages start to wrap around me. I raise the rifle, knowing I still have 1 shot left. The weight of the monster is erecting. One moment I feel weightless, another I feel like I'm going to be crushed. I push upwards with the rifle to aim it, but it's overpowering me. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get off an effective shot. I see the core of its body, a spider-like shape connected to the rest of it by thin white strings of tissue. I know I'll be dead within seconds unless I can manage a shot, but I don't know where they aim. This thing has already survived for so long. Shoot the center, dude. The creature is seconds away from tearing into my shoulder. I have to stop it now. I grunt as I try to angle the rifle in the direction of the beast's formless core. The appendages begin tugging down on the barrel, and it's at the moment I pull the trigger, unleashing my final shot. Thank God I saved this bullet earlier. The shot aggravates it, enough to win at me some breathing room. I've saved my shoulders, but this thing is still alive and kicking. But then I see the creature extend its tentacle into a violent whip-like motion away from me, while it makes that static screeching sound. The creature disappears into thin air and reappears a few meters away from me, retreating. With a shudder and a cry of desperation, I get to my feet, just in time to see the monster head in the direction of the biochem room. Emily looks over at me from her terminal as the hangar door is looking petrified. I manage to help myself, but when I see another figure nearing up, but to my life, I realize it's a human figure, Dennis with a gun. You okay, boss? He asks, but his eyes aren't on me. They are looking to the creature, trying to understand exactly what we just seen. About 15 minutes ago, I heard the door to that maintenance room unlock. Dennis says, pointing to the room I tried to bust my way into earlier. Ah, Amy says, when I did, they override up in the command center. It unlocked all the small doors down here, including that maintenance room. I went inside there, hid, Dennis continues, and while I was waiting for you to come back, I found a massive trunk. There was a few guns in it, so I grabbed this one, Hugh says, patting a shotgun. No, we're glad he's okay. We're not glad he grabbed a shotgun. Thanks, boss, he says. Me too. Great. Now, how is that door coming along? I ask Amy. She makes a final key press and says, done. The doors open with a noise of hydraulics and a whoosh of air. Dennis and Amy I climb up and head through the doors, moving on another more than adrenaline. I see her look longfully at the maintenance room. Dennis took the shotgun from him. You get into the hangar, Dennis says. I'll get some more firearms. Satisfied with the plan, Amy heads to the door. We scramble inside, finally inside the hangar. Dennis approaches from behind, holding several guns and looking like a kid who grabbed an armful of Halloween candy. Amy reaches for the 9 a.m. reaches for a 9mm with one hand. Dennis turns to me and holds out a shotgun and a handgun for me to choose. Both look deadly. I'm gonna take the handgun. I don't care. I don't really care for shotguns. I select the handgun and comforted by the way it seems to fit perfectly in this shaky grip. There are more creatures coming, and as many as a dozen. They're floating down the hall quickly, their tentacles slithering. The way their light seems to mingle together, it's almost beautiful. Close the door, I yell at Amy. She dashes toward the terminal to mount on the inside of the hangar doors and tries desperately to close them. But it's not working, she says, with the tears in her eyes. This terminal is disabled. Dennis looks through the open doors, ready for himself to shoot the first monster that nears us. Should we try to slow a few down, or should we just run for it? He asks with his gun ready. Let's run for it. Good idea, says Amy. With that, we turn around and sprint to the hangar. Wait, can you not run? Like, because he has like a... I don't know anymore. The room is enormous, so large that it has to call it a room seems silly. A large concrete floor stretches out below an expansive lofted ceiling. The area is mostly empty, except for one of the side, which was rows and rows of metal barrels. Back on the far wall is a lit area that seems to expose more rooms, labs, and machinery. Also in the rear of the hangar, I can see some kind of chamber of control center. As I follow the Amy across the hangar floor behind us, a series of rough slithering sounds tells us that the creatures have made their way into the hangar. From somewhere up ahead, a loud buzzing noise sounds. It reminds me of the slight buzzing noise I heard in the forest, the noise that I've tried to avoid. I look ahead and see that in the far back of the hangar, a bright red light is flashing. There's a small hatch on the door below the light. The hatch is open and I can see a shape inside of it. I can barely make out the figure of a man sitting there holding an industrial microphone, and as soon as I see him, I hear his huge amplified voice. It blares down over an enormous system, and he sounds pissed. I don't even know who the heck you are, he says, but this is a government facility on the lockdown, and there are protocols to... S! I assume the chorus concedes with the exact moment he sees the creatures. They're making their way through the hangar doors, and there are maybe 20 feet between us and the creatures. I act instinctively, firing twice, and the handgun comes alive in my hand. One shot goes into the core of one of the creatures, causing it to jerk backwards. Another shot goes down into another. The accuracy I get with the 9mm is amazing. Amy and Dennis take the cue and start firing as well. The floor becomes littered with a swirling white fluid from the wounded creatures' bodies, but they are not slowing down. The alarm keeps shrieking behind us, and when I turn to see if anything has changed back from, I trip over my feet. Hit the ground hard in almost comic fashion. I slide several feet across the floor. From the ground, I say we have managed to turn back 4 of them, but I have also seen that my estimate of a dozen is off. There are at least 20 of them. They're sick, dim light, sinister and gloomy. Their appendages seem to bind together as they come forward. My only hope of survival is that the man in the far doorway somewhere shuts the hangar doors. His voice comes blaring over the intercom room, broken by the booming noise of the gunfire that you were laying down. Right here, it turns the isolation chamber. I'm not sure how much time we have. I realize that I can sprint ahead of Amy, Dennis, or I can hang back and give them cover. We're gonna shoot them. We're gonna keep shooting and give them cover. Go inside where that gun is. I say, I'll make sure we don't have any of these things right on our tails. I'll hold them back for a while. I know it sounds macho, but it almost feels like the right thing to do. At least I have to try to give us some kind of chance for escape. So as Amy and Dennis run through the doors, I blast at the next thing I see moving. All I get for my troubles is that static-like hiss and a high-pitched whistling noise. It's able to beat them back and forth a bit, forcing them to scatter. Each flicker of light is a small victory. If nothing else, I'm buying Amy and Dennis time. When I'm certain to think that there is nothing I can do, I turn and run. I hustle quickly, catching up to Amy and Dennis, who stop and turn to provide with cover fire. There, Amy says, pointing to the small door where the man was standing earlier. The swarm is less than 15 feet away now. So furious that they start pushing through one another to get to us. I raise the handgun and fire, taking my time to aim. Hit one of the spider-like parts of its body. I fire again, and this time taking one in the core. I place 2 more rounds into this creature, eventually causing it to move backwards. We are in the middle of the hangar floor now. The isolation chamber ahead of us and the monsters behind. Beside me, Dennis also fires. The kick of the gun jolts him, probably a result of him being weakened from the blood loss. His shot lands true, though causing a jerking stumble and a flickering of its light. We're almost in, Amy yells. As we get close to the door, we hope he'll save us. No, I'm not going to dash inside. That's speed. Get inside, they tell Amy and Dennis, motioning for them to get moving with my gun. I open the door and give Dennis a push towards it. He resists, more eager to try taking down another one of the beasts before he makes it in safely, but he eventually gives in. I wait a beat to make sure Amy is inside too. I fire off a few rounds on the creatures that are still heading for us and to slow them down. When Amy and Dennis clear the door, I nearly dash inside, but then feel something hot seep into my back. Roger, Dennis yells. The pain in my back is immense that I barely notice the fact that I am being lifted from the floor. I look down and see that one of the creatures is using its flowing arms to grab me by its waist. Its tentacles are on me. It lifts me into the air as it's presented me as a trophy to its friends. I try to focus, attempting my angle to arm in their way. I will place a bullet in its body. Sorry, but it is shaking me violently, and its body parts are appearing and disappearing in a way that makes no sense. Another oddity of its structure. I can literally do nothing more than hang there like a ragdoll, hoping to be saved. As it continues to hoist me up, screeching in its throughput, Dennis comes back out of the room and fires off a shot. The bullet catches the monster on its underside of its course, sending it backwards and causing it to freeze for a moment. It's released me, and I hit the ground, dropping my gun again, finding myself unable to breathe. I feel slightly dizzy, but then it fins when I see Dennis still standing outside the door. He's firing into the beats like a madman and doesn't see what the windows left coming in along well. I'm gonna push him out of the way, dude. Probably gonna hurt him. I try to dash towards Dennis to push him out of the way, but there's not enough time. The creature jerks out of existence and then reappears right behind him. By the time Dennis turns around to see the creature coming, it's already drawn several of its appendages back to strike. Dennis tries to raise his gun, but it's knocked away by one of the tentacles. A second tentacle strikes, and Dennis is spun around and thrown off balance by the attack. Dennis catches himself before falling. A third tentacle wraps around Dennis's forearms, and I can see it squeezes, tightening instantly. The tip of the appendage passes clean through his hand, and its blood-soaked tip poking out of his palm. Dennis' face grimaces with pain as he tries to wrench his arm free, but the creature tentacle has his hand speared like a nail through wood. In a moment of dark clarity, I realize that I can fire him with a clean shot at the monstrous tentacle, but it will likely mean blowing off Dennis' hands. Dennis, I yell over the creature's high-pitched static sound. Can you get free? I have a shot, maybe. No, Dennis grasps as the creature tosses him around by his hand. Puppet, don't shoot. I can get free. I can't tell if it's right, but... Oh, God, what kind of choice is this? Dude, I don't want to shoot off his hands. No, I'm waiting for him to get away. No, I'm not shooting off his hand. No, that's just no. He waited to see if Dennis could get free. Dennis is fighting hard, doing everything he can to bring the gun around his good hand. He's screaming as he tries to tear his hand away, screaming in both fury. This only seems to anger the creature, which then swats Dennis with another one of its tentacles, opening a deep gash across his cheek. His skin peels back, and his eyes go wide with shock. The creature drops him to the ground as if he's playing with him, and then the space around Dennis seems to warp. The bottom quarter of his body seems to disappear before I realize it's merged with them. And at that moment, I know it's over. 3 others swarm him, surrounding him. What remains of his fallen body. I don't even hear Dennis' screams. There's just a frenzy of crackling, sickening wail sounds. After that, there's nothing else. Fury, sorrow, and absolute rage surge through my heart. I grab a gun as the remaining beasts come towards me. They'll kill me, but I don't care. This is the way, as far as I'm concerned, this is. Amy grabs me from my hand, pulls me inside. I'm trying to fighting her off, but she's persistent, and part of my mind knows she's right. Don't be an idiot, she yells to me. She practically throws me up against the door through the doorway. As I fall, I hear the fire off 2 shots before slamming the door closed behind her. I watch blurrily as she punches a few buttons on the control pad on the wall. This is a falling metallic click as the door locks. We are safe in the chamber. Dennis is gone. I didn't want to blow off his hands. It's better he's dead because I didn't want to blow off his hands. I'm sorry. It's more likely he probably would have died if I blew off his hand than that. Okay, it's more likely. Here we go, guys. We are inside a large reinforced chamber of sorts, almost like the inside of a submarine. Near us is the door, shut tight. Far away from us, along the back wall, are sorts of controls and monitors. It seems clear that this metal door is impenetrable, at least to them. I'm fairly sure that they aren't getting in. Dennis, I say. I'm sorry, Amy says, and I'm sorry for pulling you back, but you're walking to your death out there. I know, I say, but that doesn't make it any easier. I couldn't quite see, but it looked like they may have had a shot. Why didn't you take it? Amy said. Roger, Amy says. My God, I'm sorry. He's dead. I say, hoping that speaking the words will just help me understand what just happened. I came through all of this to try and save him, and he's dead. How did this happen? Why did this? Why did I listen to him? Out of nowhere, an image of Dennis pumping his fist against winning a game of pool pops into my head. I can't reconcile with that happy image with that when I just saw. I feel myself zoning out, wanting to just give up. But I'm stubborn, and the fact that Dennis is dead is a cruel motivator. I have to get out of here, I say. What I don't say is that I have to get out of here, so all of this trouble will have been worth something. We're interrupted by a man's voice booming behind us. Just what in the beep do you think you're doing? The man roars. He's an older man who seems to exude power and authority, but he also looks tired and scared. I assume this is Barksdale. He walks over to us from the back recess of the chamber. We didn't have a choice, Amy responds. We had to. Did you override the locks on the hangar door? Barksdale demands. Yes, I did, but we had to. Do you have any idea what you could have done? Amy doesn't answer right away. She's furious, but she's also scared and visibly exhausted. Who is this? I'm going to stay quiet. I'm not going to interrupt this. Look, Barksdale, she says. Can you berate me and lecture me all you want when this mess is over? But right now I have a wounded civilian here, and as you can tell, several entities trying to get into this room. So if you could actually do something instead of sitting on your throne and yelling at me, that would be great. I am impressed by her guts and wonder if there's some sort of beef between the two of them. Surely working in a place like this could cause some stress and tension between people. As we walk, I notice a small peephole in the door. I go to it and look out to see the things. They are still looking for a way in, but finding no success. I wonder if they can sense or somehow see me through the door. Flip the bird, dude. I feel excited. I can't help myself. I hold my middle finger and then smile defiantly. I get a blast of pitched screech in response. So you'll be reprimanded for speaking to me in such a way, Barksdale says to Amy. Reprimanded me all you want. I'd like to survive this first. Cover your ears, Barksdale shouts. Walking away towards the far end of the room. Stay put until you hear back from me. Thank you, Amy says with a fire in her voice. She then turns to me and says, better do what the man says. I'm going to cover my ears and not question him because it's probably going to happen. Clap over my ears just in time to protect the hearing from a deafening blast. I can still feel my blood rushing out. I wonder if what Dennis has felt like at the beginning of his end. Before the sorrow of losing Dennis, I can to me. Something slaps against me at the wall of the room with tremendous force. I assume that it's just another one of the monsters slithering along at the walls, but then I turn back and see the door. Towards the door, I hear something surprising. More bursts of loud explosive noise starting to ring out. Look through the peephole again. I see the core of one of the beasts explode. It vanishes into a puff, smoke, clear liquid. Looking to my left, I see Barksdale in a shooting stance at the far side of the room. He's firing through the small slit in the wall. He's using one of the high-powered weapons that looks like one I've never seen before. I see a slight movement as the gun hits, accompanied by a flicker of white light. Immediately, another monster is downed, its tentacles flailing around aimlessly as most of its core is torn through. I instantly feel gratitude, and I'm immense satisfaction. I'm knowing that they are being picked off in such a way. Sit down and rest. We probably need to rest. We don't need to watch. I slide down against the door and simply wait, listening to the occasional patter of what I can assume is their blood on the wall. I don't know how much time passes. Maybe 5 seconds, maybe 5 minutes. And I don't care. It feels nice to lay down. When the firing is over, I barely even notice it. Soon after, Barksdale walks over to the far side of the room. They're all gone, Barksdale says, and I have resealed the hangar doors. How'd you kill them like that? I ask. Classified weapons that, quite frankly, you have no business being there. Emma gets to her feet and returns to the panel on the wall. Thanks. How badly is the civilian hurt? Barksdale asks Amy, as if it's not good enough for him to speak to. A nasty cut, Amy answers, as if he gets some quick attention. He'll be okay. Okay. I have Strickland get a med kit. Strickland survived, Amy asked, sounding cheerful. Yes. And until you and your friends showed up, I thought we were the only ones. Hang tight, she says. She's on her way. With that, he retreats away to the back of the room as if he can't stand to be around us. Amy approaches me and looks me over. You're in good hands. Strickland will be able to fix you up. Is she a doctor or something? Sort of. She's also a physicist. But oddly enough, she spent times as a trauma nurse in the army. Is Strickland a friend of yours, I ask? Amy chuckles. Yeah, we've known each other for a while. The only woman in the sea of overreaching men. Overachieving men. Okay. Barksdale? Yes, he does. He sounds like a yep. Thanks, that's because he is, Amy says, but he runs this place, so he sort of has the right. Yeah, Washington or a facility buried under the woods of Kentucky. Gender roles the same. Stay the same. Within a few seconds, the door behind us opens and a woman appears from back further in the chamber. She enters the room with what looks like a small suitcase. She's dressed in a basic and drab military getup, complete with holstered sidearms. My name is Connie Strickland, she says, getting us straight to the point. I can patch you up pretty good, but it's going to hurt. I'm not, honestly not caring how much it hurt. My God, I just want to get out of here, get home. Sit down and let's see if we can get your shirt off, Strickland says. I sit down slowly and start unbuttoning my shirt. She asks to help me slip it off my shoulders, but we manage. How bad is it? I ask. Bad, she says. It almost looks like a burn, but I've seen much worse. I might as well walk to Strickland, if only to distract from the pain. What's your story? To ask her some questions, dude. We just can't sit there and not do nothing. Strickland rolls her eyes and she gathers up a needle and some thread. I was always into fringe science. I stared in the labs where these insistent Russian scientists were being funded by the U.S. to work on combining DNA types. I sort of became obsessed with perfecting human physiology while I was in trauma nurse in the army. You're a mad scientist, and I say. I get a lot, but no, not compared to the stuff we do here. I don't even want to know, to be honest with you. No, I don't want to know. You sound like my mother, Strickland says. She wants me to make sure I'm safe and cared for. She knows my job is sort of dangerous, but of course I can't tell her any details, so she just worries. Any other family, I ask? No, she says as she works on me. I'm a workaholic. No husband, no kids. It's always just been my job, and until about a month ago, I loved it. What happened a month ago? That's when the teams here stumbled into what they thought was a big discovery. Amy says, answered for Strickland. Yeah, Strickland says. That big discovery resulted in 20-hour work days. I've been sleeping in my office for about a week now. When you guys ran in here, she says, I was horrified. Those barrels outside, I'm not sure if you saw them well. If you'd shoot them, it would have been bad. Why, I ask. Gasoline. The gray ones are filled with an experimental fuel that is highly flammable, and yellow ones contain liquid nitrogen. That what? I asked, just laying around. Well, this area is the safest in the building, the most secure. Well, it used to be, anyway. And like this, she says, handing me 4 pills, painkillers. They won't work immediately, but they'll dull the worst foot you're feeling. Is this the best idea? I ask. No, they make me dizzy or out of sorts or something. All I can respond is an annoyed and determined look. Would I really? No, we're not taking the painkillers. Sorry, you refuse the painkillers. Really, I say. I don't want to get lightheaded in case we have to move fast. I can handle it. Your call, Strickland says, as she starts working on me. She slathers the wound with some sort of liquid that stings like crazy, and I gasp. Grin and I'm just gonna say ouch. Ready to stab me yet? Strickland asks. I'm fine. I hiss. I wince as she dabs at the eye, swollen from where Marcus kicked me. I grit my teeth in pain, trying to catch my breath. The anticipation is the worst part. I'm relieved to find that it doesn't hurt as much as I feared. It's no picnic for sure, but compared to the firelight playing in my wound, it's bearable. So you and your Barksdale are the only survivors, I may ask? It seems that the way those that didn't disappear into the thin air were killed by this thing, Strickland says, nodding to the secured door. How many were killed? I'm guessing 30 or so, Strickland says. I'm not sure how many there were scheduled to come in today. I'm glad to see where were you when it happened, Amy asks. I was in the microlab on level 2, Strickland replies. Park and Oberon were in there with me, and they just disappeared. I guess. It looked like they were being stretched, distorted, and then there was a ball of white light, and they were gone. The ball of light just annihilated everything it touched. Would it leave a perfectly round hole, I asked, a light bulb turning in my head. We saw some of those up on the log, he said. That was probably the same phenomenon, Strickland replies. Amy looks like a child, afraid to ask an adult for something. Finally, she is asking, where did they go? We don't know, Strickland says. It says there's an infinite number of different dimensions, or even some dimensions that merge and mix together. It could be a place that exists between dimensions, Barksdale calls in the void. How is that possible? I'd call it dead. No, she says. We keep tabs on the heart rate, blood pressure, breathing of all the rats and humans test subjects. Wherever they go for that time, they are still very much alive. I wince through the rest of the Strickland stitching, feeling the tug of my skin, but there thankfully no more flowing blood. Finally, Strickland says you're good to go. I slide my shirt back on, aware of the thick pad of gauze that Strickland applies to my shoulder. So have you and Barksdale been able to contain all these creatures, Amy asks. Strickland appears shocked, clearly not the reaction Amy was expecting. Contain? Are you nuts? Do you not know what's happening? Amy's eyes widen in fear and confusion. What do you mean, what's happening? Other than the initial experiment failure. The anomalies are becoming more numerous and further from the source. Strickland says, the casual humor in her voice is gone. What anomalies? The doorway, she says. Pockets of exotic matter and negative energy that are left letting those things in. The fallen experiments caused the first one, but it set off a chain reaction. They're gaining momentum along the goddesses emanating from the facility. What the heck does that mean, I ask? It means, Amy chimes in, that those doorways and monsters are starting to appear all over the facility, maybe even the surface. Not yet, luckily. But the doorways still will appearing on the surface, and it won't stop there. The anomalies reach and can extend infinitely as far as we know. These entities will appear on the surface in other states, other countries. Holy crap, I say. You mean the world is going to be overrun? The horror of the past few hours have made me ready to believe anything, but this is almost too much. Uncomfortably, yes. Unfortunately, yes, Strickland says. Oh my god, Amy says, stepping away. Isn't there anything we can do? There's a last resort, Strickland says, her eyes darting over to Barksdale at the back of the room. There's an emergency fail-safe switch. What? Amy says. I never heard of that. Where? I weren't cleared for it, Strickland replies. And that switch, Amy says, is the way to stop this. Yes, Strickland says, seeming uneasy with the conversation. What does the switch do? Yeah, what does it do? We need to know that. The switch is our eraser, she says. It destroys the entire facility and terminates any system of experience that are being conducted. It also an emergency shutdown for the interdimensional traveler, puts an event horizon around the facility. What the heck is that? I ask incredulously. It's the perimeter of a black hole, she replies. The boundary inside, nothing can escape, not even light. But there's no two problems with hitting the switch. So the first problem is that we all be killed, sucked into a black hole before you have time to evacuate. The second reason Strickland is suddenly quiet is that Barksdale won't allow it. What? Amy gasps. Why not? He wants to allow those things to flood the surface. Thousands, millions will die. Strickland puts her hand up, silencing Amy. They both peer over to the far side of the room where Barksdale has his back turned. I know, he says. He says he doesn't care. He says he'll be happy to be rid of the oversight so he can continue his work. The oversight, Amy almost screams, regaining control of what the voice of Strickland gives her another remote warning. You mean our government? I ask. He's aware that this could disrupt, even topple the government, and he doesn't care. Strickland sighs. Barksdale as well. He's off the range right now. He's gone rogue. He's armed. This comment makes me look towards the handgun I brought in with me. I nearly forgotten it someone's last few moments. While Barksdale has his back turned, I take it to my hand and slide it back towards me. Just in time, too. Barksdale walks over from the back of the room to our side of the chamber. He gives the Strickland a suspicious look before speaking to her. Is that civilian going to survive? He asks. Yes, he's stitched up and good to go, Strickland replies. That's great news, Barksdale says. I'm stitching right here. I'm sitting right here, I say sarcastically. You can actually speak to me, you know. Amy, it's quite nice to see that you have survived, he says. Were there any others? The aloof way this a-hole is talking to us is getting under my skin. A guy named Marcus that works on the first level from it. He says, that's all I know for right now. Marcus? Papscott, Barksdale says. Where is he? No, I'm going to admit to it because I'm happy. He put us in an impossible situation, I say. I was forced to kill him. Barksdale raises him down but lets with a smile. Yes, we're often forced to do unspeakable things, and for survival, tell me, have you ever killed before? No, I answer, but he lost his mind. He was violent and careful, Barksdale says, with something like dark humor in his voice. You've all just admitted to killing a federal employee. Barksdale seems to think about something and then looks directly at me. You're with the logging crew, aren't you? Remind me, how did you get in here again? We were trying to get away from here. We fell through a hole. That's technically what happened. Ah, right. We lost our primary power source when the experiment failure, Barksdale says. The experimental fairy created those exotic matter pockets, that hole you fell into. And if there were enough of them, it may have opened the way into the facility. Depending on the power sources that were changed, Barksdale continues, it could have also shut in the looking systems before backup kicked in. Everything is starting to make sense now. From this very start, it had seemed peculiar that we'd been easily able to walk into a place like this. Where's the rest of our crew? I don't know if you know, but I can ask. Your crew, Barksdale asks. Frank and Joe, they're gone. Gone where? He asked, voice trembling. Hearing the speak the names of my crew enrages me. They were annihilated by antimatter project pockets created during the failure. A bright ball of light in the aftermath, and all you'd be able to see would be a round hole in the ground. Barstow says this like he's sharing yesterday's sports scores. I let my face crumble into my hands as I suspect this is all this time, and they were all already dead. So what now? Now it's time to continue our work, Barstow says calmly, turning away to the instruments on the near wall. No, you're insane. Just gonna say that right now. You want to keep your little toys to yourself, I say, my teeth clenched, and you're willing to unleash those monsters in the world to do it. Indeed, Barstow says. I want to continue my work. Other researchers will eventually discover what we have. Sure. We have. Sure. But I want it to be me. This is my laboratory. These are my experiments. The work I've led here will earn me a place in history, and quite frankly, I don't need to explain it to you. Upon the surface, they'll struggle to defend themselves since they won't know what they're dealing with. I have the necessary weapons. After a few months, who knows, maybe I'll decide that the world is ready for me to help them, and we'll go from there. Strickland steps up directly beside me and whispers into my ear. I wouldn't push him, she says. He's usually very logical, but this whole thing has pushed him somewhere else. He's well off. He turns his back on us and says this. Walk into the far side of the chamber like we're some kind of distraction. Amy takes this opportunity to whisper to us. We need to hit that switch, she says. It's the only option. What he's saying is that murder, treason, genocide. She looks over to Strickland for support, trailing off. But Strickland looks out at the ground, clearly torn. She won't look at anyone in the eye and makes me effort to look at Barksdale. Effort not to look at Barksdale. He seems distracted with whatever instruments he's studying on the far side of the room. At this moment, I realize that my body feels like it is a bomb went off inside of it. Maybe those painkillers wouldn't have been so bad. Strickland finally whispers a response. Even if they decide that we want to hit that switch, Barksdale won't allow us. To heck with him, sorry. My bad. Amy agrees. Where is the switch located? She asks. There's an elevator on that hangar, Strickland says. Take it to the basement. The switch is off at the end of your long tunnel, But Strickland never finishes. Two things happen at once as she speaks, her mouth stopping in mid-sentence. First, a loud booming noise rings out, then the top of her head seems to explode. Amy screams out in surprise, and I jump back to shock as Strickland's body collapses beside me. Beside her fallen body, Barksdale's holding an experimental rifle, and now he's pointing it at us. Shoot me. Really? Really? You actually kidding me? Did I just kill 2 people this episode? I wonder if Barksdale is even crazier than Marcus. He just shot a woman that worked for him to keep her quiet. Surely he wouldn't have any issue with killing me. Now, Barksdale, no more whispering, no secrets. You'll have to stay in here and get away from that door. If anyone whispers one more thing about I'll blow your head off, my mind is racing to figure out a way to get through the secured hang doors. Beyond that, of course, there was the fail-safe switch. Mega distraction. I'll try my best to be a good actor. As I wobble on my feet a bit, I stop, start forward again, then wobble once more. Amy is apparently catching on because she is at my side in a second. And she looks over to Barksdale and he says, he's lost a lot of his blood. Let me check his wound really quick. After he dared to talk to me like this, he's been through a lot, she argues. He's clearly delusional. You can check him back here, Barksdale says. You have 30 seconds to get away from that door or I will. I stretch out my acting skills and actually stumble to a knee. I make a show of trying to get to my feet and stand still for a moment. Oh, I'm okay. I say, I'm okay. I think as quickly as I can, I raise my gun and fire. I don't even take aim. I just fire at Barksdale General Election. Barksdale takes off running as my shot misses wide. He runs over for cover to the back of the room. That's all we need, Amy says. Amy also fires up a shot. Him got under the cover as we head to the door. Amy pushes the button and the door swings open. Barksdale will be on us in a second, so we dash out into the hangar, ready to defend ourselves. Amy and I run as fast as we can through the areas of barrels. Barksdale comes charging out of the chamber almost immediately. As he steps into the hangar floor, he starts shooting. Don't shoot the barrels. Each shot sends a jolt through fear for me as I wait for the bullet to end my life. We need to get to the elevator on the far side of the room, Amy tells us. It leads down to below to the switch. Let's fend off Barksdale first. We don't want to get killed while we're running to it. We both lean out from the cover to the barrels and take several shots at Barksdale. He stops back in his isolation chamber, which gives me a sense of victory. But then I realize he may just be reloading whatever high-powered weapon he has. We need to move, I say. Agreed, Amy says. We both take off as a full sprint for the other side of the hangar. Somehow I make it through the rows of barrels and I get to the elevator entrance. I turn back to allow Amy to enter first, but she isn't there. I look back to the barrels and see that she has fallen about halfway down the row. But she doesn't appear to be hurt, but she is paralyzed with fear, sitting emotionally as Barksdale peppers the area with gunfire. Running back over to give her cover, I start to step out into the open to head back for Amy, but Barksdale's gunfire pins me back into the elevator entrance with a loud bang. Apparently he's reloading that weapon of his. As the sparks fly inches over my face, I realize that I have no to help her from here. I then remember the context of the barrel. The one color is a highly flammable fuel. The other contains liquid nitrogen. I'm no scientist, but I'm pretty sure liquid nitrogen is mostly harmless unless you have direct contact. It's one of those barrels that, if one of those barrels gets shot and the liquid nitrogen spills out, I'm fairly positive it will simply evaporate. The electrocuted cover sorts for Amy like a smoke cloud. And, heck. But which of the barrels holds liquid nitrogen? Strickland told us, but I can't remember. I have to remember quickly if Barksdale's going to get careless with his shooting. Oh my god. Are you actually kidding me? I'm going to assume the yellow barrels has the good thing. I'm just going to pick the gray barrel. I'm scared now. Gray. Regardless, I don't even have time to second guess myself. I take aim and pull the trigger, hitting a gray barrel twice for finish from Amy. It's probably the wrong barrel, to be honest with you. There's nothing at first, and just as I wonder if I've hit an empty barrel, there's a defiant explosion. It knocks me to my and I can hear Amy screeching. As a flame and debris rain over me, my heart sinks. It wasn't the gray barrel. I just shot a barrel full of fuel. How dare myself! I stand up feeling the hairs of my arms sting. I can see Amy out there. Her leg is on fire and she's doing everything she can to roll it out. But everything she rolls over, there's no more fire. Just as I'm about to run and help her, I hear a gunshot and freeze for a moment, assuming the shot is meant for me. But as I watch a large hole bloom in Amy's leg, back, she topples over. I hate myself so much. Sorrow and fury boil up within me, but I have to keep it under control. I have to get to that switch. With Amy gone, there's nothing else for me to do here. I turn away from the hangar and head up to the elevator. My nerves are drenched in fear and adrenaline. When I reach out to press the call button on the elevator, it feels like I'm watching someone else do it. I stab inside the doors and close the motors on the elevator, sound like dying dogs. As the elevator slides down and light from the flames gives way to the back of complete blindness, and now I'm on my own. Kill me! Why would I do that? Shoot me, dude, come on. I could have got the right barrel. I lose track of how long the elevator descends. It's hard to tell due to the lack of lightning, but it must go another 500 feet underground. The elevator comes to a stop, with a stuttering clang, and I waste no time exiting. A tunnel stretches out with sparse white bulbs lighting the way. Most of the wall is made of raw earth and rock, but there are birds of concrete slathered into areas used to reinforce the tunnel. I see a warning sign posted on the wall. I run to read it, but there's no time. Read notice on the wall could help us. Warning, authorized personnel only beyond this point. Trespassing will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Absolutely no exceptions. Well, glad we got that out of the way, now that everyone is dead. After only a few steps, the pain in my body intensifies. How stupid was I to turn down those painkillers? I look up, and when I see that the tunnels in the ceiling is less than 6 inches over my head, claustrophobia freezes me for a moment. Still, it's not much better than facing the monsters above me. I wonder then, walking through the darkness where they came from, is the portal still open? The bulbs do little thwarts in the darkness, and I hold the gun in my hand and reach out towards touch the wall with others. Feeling the wall under my palm anchors me to reality, to sanity. I am not in some boundless abyss, but still in the real world, for a little while longer at least. I recognize that I am marching to my end, as much as I wish I weren't. It's not surprising. From the moment I saw that what those creatures could do to time and space, at least part of me knew what death was inevitable. Before I have time to wonder whether my family will really miss me, I see a light ahead. It's nothing more than a speck of blue light, but in the darkness of the tunnel it looks like a lighthouse in the stormy sea. I slog forwards, my eyes straining to see it focus on a little light ahead of me. From somewhere ahead, I start to hear something that sounds like water. It is trickling lightly from a leaky faucet. And behind me there is something that sounds like wind, a light breeze through an open field and a voice. Anywhere else the sounds would have been pleasant, but here in the blackness of the tunnel, they're menacing. When you yell out hello. My voice doesn't echo like it should in the small space. That weirds me out even more than the lack of response. I cock my head, trying to concentrate, and then realize that I can't see the tunnel walls now. This is odd, as I wasn't able to see them for a few seconds ago, but this is different from the blue light at the end of the tunnel. It's then that I see the slight shimmering in the air. It looks like a foggy mirror streaming over after a shower, and it's moving, dancing in the air, like some abstract firefly. It's not menacing like the creatures, so that threat is null. It's peaceful, serene. I watch as the shimmer branches over and becomes 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then snake out in different directions, tracing the tunnel walls. Are these shimmers the doors to another dimension that Strickland was talking about? Suddenly I'm surrounded by light, above and below me. Then I realize there's no avoiding it. The question is, how am I going to am I going through? Go in feet first, because we don't want to kill ourselves. Unable to resist, I step forward to where the tunnel wall should be. When I do, it's those shimmering lights branch out even more before connecting in the perfect circular form. They're hypnotizing, so much so that I don't realize that the tunnel walls are vanishing. I feel something like wind, and a brief electrical pulse pass through me as the lights take me. There's then a very gentle pushing sensation, and I somehow know that I am being expelled. I have passed through something, maybe the lights, maybe the tunnel walls, I don't know. But the shimmering lights fade a bit, still dancing in the air, but no longer large and branching out. And as my eyes adjust, I see right away that I am no longer standing in that dark tunnel far beneath the hangar. I have no idea where I am. I'm just somewhere else. And I'm terrified. Continue. This is a long chapter, dude. Jeremy's beard, what is this? Bro. The ground I land on looks like hot coals. There are dips and many cliffs breaking into the landscape ahead of me. There's a wash of orange and blue overhead in the sky that makes no sense. It is beautiful and terrifying at once. A scattering of stars hang overhead, and they all seem to be breathless, breathing, pulsing with a gentle energy as if alive. I can't tell if if there are clouds in this sky because everything about it, from the colors to the trembling horizon line, seems to be amorphous. Everything is knitted together, living. I stare at a moment longer and swear I feel sigh breathing. For off to my right, I see what looks to be a plum of fire, small yet bright, with no source of fuel. It looks as if the ground itself was creating the flames. Several more of these flames dot the landscape further out. The air is thick and muggy, then I realize something horrible. I don't know if what I'm breathing here resembles air at all. In a place like this, one of the impossible beauty, but also a very stark horror, my mind doesn't know what to do. A wave of nausea comes over me, and I think I might be sick. I'm not sure if it would be better to flight in air and given. To fight it or give it in. The white light has brought me here and is nowhere to be found. Is anyone else here? Is there any way to escape? Yell out for help. I take a deep breath. Whatever other worldly gas is filling me in place is belt as close as I can. Hello, hello. Is anyone else there? Anyone? I hear a voice in response. It is faint, distant. I turn out and hear it is coming from out of the massive crevices along the ground. Instead of the crack, about 10 feet away, a very pale man lies on the ledge. He is human, but looks close to death. He is in the center of a large pool of blood, and his left leg has been twisted and torn in an unnatural way. As I walk to the ledge, he looks up to see me. Help me, please, the ant says. His eyes are wide, although everything about him speaks of weakness. He is close to death or insanity or both. Who are you? It's Dr. Kana. I thought so. I'm Dr. Kana. He strains to get on. I work in the facility. Please help. I want to know more, but it seems cruel to steal what looks like his last breath just to answer my question. I'd love to, I respond, but I don't know where the heck I am or how to get back home. The light, he says. It's the doorway. It might take you back to the facility. Might? There's no way to know what the doorway is taking you. You could be stuck in another world or between worlds, but it's the only way out of here. I desperately want to help, but there's no other way I can reach him. His ledge is too far away. Above the pool is fire. I don't think I can get to you, I say. No, that's not what I mean, replies. His eyes are on the handgun that I almost forgot. I'm still holding. I realize that what he wants is, and I shake my head. I can't do that. Please, he pleads. Those things, they have the others that came here with me. I got dropped along the way. They'll be back. They'll be back, and they'll kill me. That, he says, again, indicating the gun, will be quicker, less painful. I can't, I repeat. Please, look at the dang leg. I'm dead anyway. I'm about to refuse him again when I hear an all too familiar static sound from another crevice behind him. I hear another of those shrill noises, and then watch as one of the monsters materializes up into the neighboring crevices. Two or more come out after it, then a third, then a fifth, then a 10, then as soon as I lose count, as if there was just a few turns into a flood. I suddenly understood the man's reasoning. A bullet would be mercy. I check the gun and see that I have only one round left, but I can use it on this guy, but I may need it for later. From besides me, I'm shooting him. I'm not going to let him die. From besides me, the only man pleads again. My God, he says. Waver, please. She's to shoot the man. I look back to the man. The rinse. I know it's the right thing to do, but my finger resists. With a roar of disgust, I level the gun towards his head, then turn my eyes away, and then pull the trigger. Your aim is true. The man crumples lifelessly to the ground. And that's when I see the shimmers whimpering to my right, in the direction I originally came from. I look back to the monsters and see that they have noticed me. Some of them begin floating up the walls and crevices. They are less than 10 feet away, separating us. The shimmers of white light and within the arms reach, its movement reminding me of a fish in an aquarium. I reach out to feel myself accepting them by them again. I feel the sensation of wind and weight, the feeling of being pushed out, back to the tunnel in the facility. But it doesn't come to this time. And this time I feel something else. I feel a tugging sensation that seems to want to drag me in all directions at once. As the road goes dark, I realize that I am somewhere else, and it is not in the darkness of the tunnel. This is the darkness of the total void. There's darkness around me. Everywhere. Nothingness. I feel under my feet, nothing to my side. I can't touch or sense anything at all. I don't even know which way is up or down. It's as though I am all that exists. And as I remain there, I just hear silence, not even the sound of my heartbeat. The blackness is so deep that I feel I can't distinguish between my thoughts and what is real. I hear screaming, but I can't tell if it's someone else or my mind trying to cry out. I hear my own shout in my head, but it doesn't seem to travel out into the abyss. It bounces in my head endlessly like an echo down a long, ancient corridor. I assume this is the place that Strickland refers to, the place between dimensions. This darkness could consume me if it wanted to. I try to will myself out of it, to have those shimmering lights spit at me out, but it isn't happening. At this point, my mind starts to hallucinate, or at least I think it does. Are they visions? My mind playing tricks on me? I can't tell. All I can do is watch. I see the logging site, and Tony's leg still pinned under the dozer. I feel a pang of regret that I left him in such a state. I see myself talking to Dennis, and he looks distraught as I tell him that Tony is gone. And then the scene rearranges itself, and I'm watching as Marcus points his gun at Dennis. I'm too scared to help. It changes again, and then the shape of Marcus's body appears in front of me, half devoured, a bullet through his head. In my mind, I'm sobbing as I watch Dennis get torn apart by those monsters all over again. And I just stood by and watches. And I just stood by and watched. And I try to let out the scream as I watch myself shoot the wrong barrel, blowing Amy to heck, but there's still no sound. And just when I feel like I can't take any more of this, I see the man in the strange world begging for death. I watch as I take his life just before those beasts reach him. All of these things are flooding my mind, and it feels like my brain is vomiting. Yet in another mist of it all, I see what's really important, the switch. In my mind's eyes, I see that glowing light in the tunnel, and the one far ahead, the small, distant. Try to focus on it. I focus my mind on the tunnel and the image of that flickering light, with a mental effort so strong that it is nearly physical motion. I make myself envision that my little light in the tunnel as if it was right there in front of me. With that, I feel the wind again, a light breezes from what seems to come from everywhere, and then with a leaf that I can only imagine feels like death, I move forward. We're back in the tunnel! Yay! I'm ejected from the void, and I'm suddenly standing in the tunnel again. I let out a wail of triumph that turns into a bound of weeping. The weeping only intensifies when I see the light up ahead, flickering blue light. Somewhere behind us, I hear a crackling noise. Those monsters from that other place, they have come through, but not at the same time. They've gone down the tunnel the other way in search of me. And now because of that me, by crying, they knew I was here. I feel like I can listen to get a better read on where they are, or I could just make a break for it. I'm not gonna run towards the blue light. I try my best to listen, attempting to figure out how far they are. But the sound carries strangely down here. Right now, the static sound makes it seem like they're about 30 rods away. Knowing my time is running out, I run as fast as my aching body and confused body will allow, heading straight for the blue light. As I run, I see a different light, a white one, flickering in my peripheral vision. And it's another one of those shimmers that's going to go to other worlds. It seems that they're appearing and disappearing with more frequency now. Strickland was right. These things could reach the surface soon, unleashing more monsters. This thought makes me refocus on this blue light, the man-made light, the switch. The blue light gets closer, and as it does, I can make out a square shape around it, and this has to be it. The familiar static scream at the monsters is now closer than I have to be quick. I grip the gun tightly, regretting my decision to use the last bullet on the man in the world. Looks like I'll be using this as the blue gun. I run ahead into the darkness, my eyes locked on the switch, but I have to assume that it's going to kill me, not only the creatures, but myself as well. As I approach, I see the lever. It's covered by a glass box, and I need to break. The blue light is different. Beneath this, highlighting a series of tubes and wires to smoke and snake into inner workings on the device. In the middle of this blackness, not like a darkly colored part of reality, it looks like some part of illusion. All the while, I can hear the static of the creatures coming up dangerously close. Now I have no idea how much time I have. What am I going to defend with? I don't even have a bullet and a gun. I draw back and stalk with the gun and smash through the glass box that holds the lever. The glass shattering is like music to my ears. I reach out for the lever, my hand grasping it. Without warning, I feel immense pain course through my body. It feels like fire racing through my back, causing me to fall to one of my knees in agony. There's only one of them that I can see. It blasts horrible static noise at me as I ready my gun. With no bullets left, I get ready to use it as a club and try to strike. The monster bats the gun away, warping it into a S shape, and then it follows up by swinging and finishes at me. The sting of its touch forces me back against the side of the cavern, my face striking the wall hard. My jaw crunches, and I feel a sharp pain encompass my head. Then the creature's upon me again. Its tentacles melt into me, and I scream. I can't help it. I sound like a wild animal. I could try to keep fending them off, or I can just go for the brook and just focus on the lever. The creature. We're springing for the lever. We're not going to try and kill him. I put all my strength into my legs. The moment the monster in front of me draws back its eel-like arm and grabs me, I pivot backwards. My back strikes the machine, sending agony rocketing through my body. I'm so thankful I broke the glass before the coming violence. I stretch it out and grab the lever with one last desperate scream, and that shrieks my voice. I jam it down. The tunnel is suddenly filled with a flash of intense darkness. It expands from the switch, swallowing the matter around it. At first, I'm sure this is the end of me. I expect the darkness to consume me, followed by death. But then another shimmer of dancing white light appears next to me. There are more of these streams of light ripping the space, like ones that previously sent me to the world, to that other ungodly world and the void. With nothing else to do but die, I try to escape into the shimmer. When that stream of light envelops me, the expanding darkness of the switch is gone, and I can feel a huge push. Okay, this is a very long chapter. Oh my god, it's the Milky Way. My body feels stretched, collapsing like I'm falling in all directions at once. The world goes white, and then there are pinpoints of stars everywhere. One of them breezes directly by my right, and I can see something that looks like a spirally galaxy distorted in its folds. To my right, I see an endless stretch of stars and gas clouds forming some galactic architecture, but beyond the immeasurable beauty, I notice something. I am seeing the same star pattern over and over again. They are repeating like reflecting in an endless mirror. Are these different versions of the same galaxies, the same realities? To my left, I see a calm blue world, and I can barely make out trees, familiar Kentucky trees that I have been around for the last few years. To my right, I see a copy, an orange world. There are trees there as well, but something is strange, disturbing. As I zoom by, I'm not sure how much control I have in this unusual place, but if I direct myself, it's worth trying. We're not heading towards the orange world. It looks weird. We're heading towards the blue world. You decide to head towards the blue world. I try to focus my mind, heading towards the blue world, not knowing what to expect. My breath escapes me for a moment. Everything is dark and peaceful, and nothing hurts. With the breath back inside my body, I gasped and opened my eyes. I'm back. Back at the logging site. How? I'm not sure. Did the shimmer react with the implosion of the switch, some other accident? I have no idea. I have an idea first, guys. I'm just gonna go ahead and... Boom. That light's gonna encompass me and just make this whole entire thing a lot more easier to see with me. So, there you go, guys. It was really dark there for a few minutes because I didn't turn on that light before I started recording, so there we go. Oh, wait, nope. How am I not sure? Did the shimmers react with the explosion of the switch, some other accident? I have no idea. I stepped right away, becoming instantly dizzy. I wonder if I am somehow back in the time before we found the facility, but what happens next makes me realize that it can't be true. There's a tremor in the ground. Somewhere off in the distance, I hear a metallic groan. The buried facility, it's being ripped apart under the ground by an activation with a switch. I hear trees splintering and the popping all around.